Hi, this is Corey Yarbrough, Executive Director of the Hispanic Black Gay Coalition, here to continue our mayoral video series. Today, I'm in Dorchester in the Savin Hill community to interview Bill Walczak. Bill Walczak is best known as founder of the Codman Square Health Center and Codman Academy School here in Dorchester. Today, I'm here to talk to him about health disparities, homelessness, education, and his record for improving the community of Boston. Mr. Walczak, thank you so much for taking time to meet with me today. So you're very well known in the Dorchester community and have accomplished a lot in the Dorchester community. So tell me a little bit why you're looking to expand your impact to the city of Boston now.
Well, I have been expanding my impact in the city. Although I'm probably best known for founding the Codman Square Health Center and leading that for 36 years and then moving to be the president of the Carney Hospital. In fact, I've been involved internationally and across the city for many years. I was involved in founding Boston Medical Center. I'm the founding president of the statewide nonprofit association. I've been involved in microenterprise in Southern Africa. I have been involved at the Northern Irish peace process for 13 years. I was involved in Southeast Asia, bringing family medicine to the country of Vietnam and doing health assessments of people in Cambodia, among many other things across the city and across the world. So, in fact, although my major impact has been in Dorchester, I really want to be able to play a much stronger role in the city of Boston because I've learned so much about what it takes to build strong institutions, make things happen, create change in across the city of Boston, and I want to be able to do that.
Great, great. And as you mentioned, you've done a great deal as far as health and addressing health disparities for the city and internationally as well, as you just mentioned. So when it comes to LGBT health issues, tell me a little bit more about the issues that you prioritize and as mayor, how you will work to address LGBT health disparities.
Sure. I mean, the key issue is education and outreach. It always has been, actually, and at Codman Square we played a major role in the early period of HIV/AIDS by having outreach workers that were available in the communities, especially LGBT communities of color, and making sure that there's a caring healthcare system that's available to people that understand the specific issues of the LGBT community. What has to happen is we need to continue what has been going on in the city of Boston to make sure that treatment of HIV is normalized across the city and across all healthcare systems, and that there's no kind of discrimination that's allowed. I think we also need to carry it into a deeper area around education, especially bullying in school. If there's one area that I think we really need to build upon is the behavioral health aspects of bullying and what it does to people, and especially people from the LGBT community. And I would love to be able to do more in the school system around having a greater understanding of LGBT issues and making sure that we deal with any kind of issues like that. That's an important area that we need to tackle in the future.
So tell me a little bit more about that when we talk about education and bullying and LGBT issues in high schools and middle schools. Do you see it more working with the teachers, working with the new superintendent that will be coming in soon for Boston Public Schools? At what levels are you thinking about implementing this reform?
All levels. My experience especially at Codman Academy Charter School is that what we do is we make sure that there's sensitivity around all different issues of diversity in our school over there, and making sure that all children have experiences where they understand that all people need to be treated well, and that differences between people are not things to be disdained or bullied or anything other than accepted in our school system. So what I've learned through Codman Academy Charter School is that we can do things that make it very safe for everyone to be in school, and that bullying is just completely not tolerated, no matter what the bullying is about. That takes this strong leadership. It takes great principles and and it also takes an educational process that makes sure that people really do understand what it's all about. So it's across the board, and it's a key element of making sure that everyone can learn. I mean, in a wonderful atmosphere where acceptance is everything and people are helping one another to be able to achieve educational success, I mean, that produces success across the board, and we need to make sure that it's free from the kind of trials that occur in any kind of bullying situation.
It's something that, when we talk about bullying, is how do we deal with the bullies? So are you in favor of having more, harsher punishments for people who are harassing and bullying people in school? Do you think it's just a matter of putting them through workshops or trainings to better be more sensitive to the needs of students who are LGBT? But so basically the question is, how would you deal with the bully and making them more welcoming?
To me, it's very reminiscent of the period of time in the 1970s and 80s when, racist bullying was very apparent everywhere that you went. And what was really important in dealing with that, not that that's gone, but it's certainly better, is that there's a zero tolerance for it. It's the kind of thing where you have to act upon it immediately. But obviously education is the first aspect of it. Training, education, sensitivity kind of stuff that needs to happen. And that's what's been very successful at Codman Academy. I think it can be replicated across the city of Boston. But obviously you want to start from an understanding perspective before you start from a punitive kind of perspective, because you want people to understand why their behavior is inappropriate and unacceptable.
Great. So education is one piece. So let's say the LGBT student of color is able to get a quality education and graduate, and then in getting a job is the next big challenge. And so often people in our community are discriminated because of their gender expression, because of their race, because of their sexual orientation, a number of factors that could prevent them from getting jobs. So how will you as mayor ensure that you are bringing jobs to our community, but for the people who are most marginalized most?
And who would you describe as most marginalized?
Let's say, for example, a transgender female who is looking to land her first job, but is facing discrimination or feels like she's facing discrimination because of who she are and how she presents herself.
Well, I mean, I support the legislation around transgender rights. I think it's really important that people be accepted for being people, and obviously we need to have campaigns around that, but they need to be very subtle campaigns. We need to just have an understanding that people are people, and that it's the qualifications of the job. It's Martin Luther King said it, about it's the quality of the person rather than the circumstances, the gender, the sexual orientation, color, race, whatever. That's the important thing, is that people be accepted for it. So we need to make sure that there's enforcement. I mean, all of these things are about enforcement. All of these things are about making sure that the people in the hiring roles are not people who discriminate. And we know that there are lots of circumstances in which people are discriminated against. I mean, hey, I'm in the age group now where age discrimination is a big deal. I know people in my age category who've been out of work for the last 5 years, who were working steadily for the previous 30 or 35 years and can't get a job, and they believe it's age discrimination. There's a whole range of discriminations that need to be dealt with, and what we need to make sure is that the human resource offices of all of our employers are the right people to be able to understand that people need to be accepted based on their qualifications rather than the circumstances of their life.
Great. So another issue that disproportionately affects our community is homelessness. In Boston, with the exception of a few years since 1999, homelessness has steadily been on the increase. So as mayor, how will you tackle homelessness for LGBT youth and LGBT adults?
Well, obviously the answer is housing. We need to have shelters, but we really need permanent housing for people. And I've been talking, my good friend Lindia Downey, who runs the Pine Street Inn, has been tutoring me, shall we say, on the issues of how we need to create more housing that's available for people. The shelter works for a certain group of people. Housing is the more permanent solution, and we need to create more of it. Now, creating housing is difficult because the federal government essentially is backed away from cities and from poor people, and we need to make sure that those dollars are available. And I would look at to the $6 billion in construction in Boston and the linkage dollars that get thrown off from that as a way to try to address the issues of low and moderate income housing as well as housing for homeless people.
Great. And going back to shelters, would you be in support of a LGBT shelter just for LGBT youth?
Sure. You know, is someone proposing one?
No, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
But I know there's been lots of talks about, you know, given the discrimination that LGBT people face in regular shelters, how it would be beneficial just to have their own shelters so they don't have to face discrimination. They can use the bathroom that they want.
Yeah,
so
I mean, talk to Lindy or talk to some people in the that are involved in homelessness about that. Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't see any reason not to support it.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Dorchester is a very diverse city. Boston is a very diverse city as well. But yet some people may consider this city a little segregated economically and racially. So A, do you see it that way? And if so, how will you help to mend race relations in Boston or improve them?
Boston, there's a great website, Atlantic Cities, and about a month ago they had a series of maps of American cities and by racial segregation, and it was mind-boggling how racially segregated we still are as a country. Maybe there's more people of color out in the suburbs, but they're definitely in certain suburbs, and certainly the bulk of the populations of color are located in the Dorchester, Mattapan, Roxbury area, and then you know, Randolph and a few other towns south of here, a little bit in Cambridge. But you know, the other issue is income segregation, and if anything, it's getting much worse. The income disparity problem is getting much worse in the city of Boston as the real estate prices climb. I see a gradual easing in housing segregation, but a dramatic increase in class segregation. And I'm very, very worried about it. And I think that the partial solution to this has to be housing policy. Because what's happening is that our cost of housing is just climbing astronomically in the city. And now it's apartments around this neighborhood are going for $1,600, $1,700 a month now, which puts it out of the possibility of many, many people to actually live in this neighborhood. Although, you know, there's been a dramatic increase in racial integration in this area. In fact, there has been a decrease in income integration in this area. So, you know, so I would say that the partial solution to this is making sure that we have a significant increase in housing. Governor Patrick has talked about the need for 17,000 additional units per year, and since the housing growth, or the population growth is mainly in Greater Boston, actually almost exclusively in Greater Boston, most of that housing needs to be built here or in the near suburbs.
And will that housing be accessible to people of color, people that may have low income, or maybe younger in age?
The critical element here is that we need to make sure that there's low and moderate income housing, because, you know, the anti-discriminatory laws you know, forbid the segregation by race, although we know it still occurs in certain areas. But but I would say that just a general increase in housing should at least put a cap on the increase in housing prices, which would make it more affordable for people and potential of more or less segregation in the process. So overall, I mean, the important thing is that we need to build more housing, more affordable housing. We need to make sure that we lower the cost of housing. I have some ideas on how to do that, including I want to lure a factory into Boston for prefab housing, because prefab housing is cheaper, but you can make it very, very green and very attractive. I've seen really attractive prefab housing that's lower cost. We need to be able to do that. We also need more transit-oriented development. We need a lot more housing that's built around transit stations, so that people don't have to have cars, because that's another added expense. So if you are able to use the public transit system by virtue of the fact that you live next to it, then you don't need a car. And if you're able to build more densely near transit stations, you're able to lower the cost of housing. So I think that's a critical element in this. And obviously, we need to enforce all laws regarding discrimination.
Great. I want to go ahead and wrap up. I know you have to get to a canvassing event, but I want to wrap up with what I call my lightning round. So it's just 4 quick questions I'm asking all of the candidates, and it's basically a fill in the blank in 3 or 4 words if you could.
Okay.
All right, so my first one is a more equal and just Boston requires.
Strong leadership that cares about it.
Great, great. A personal hero of mine is?
Nelson Mandela.
Great. An area I'm looking to improve as a leader in is?
Let's say early childhood education.
Great, great. And lastly, to the Black and Latino LGBT community, I pledge.
To make sure that you're heard in my administration and that you have a role in leading the city.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Tell us how we can tap into your campaign or any final words you want to leave with our viewers.
Sure. Well, my campaign is about making sure that the city of Boston moves forward. We have a 21st century economy that we need to make sure continues to grow, so we can continue to have jobs, so that people can continue to work and get good jobs and be able to make the kind of living that they need to be able to live in our city, continue to live in our city. We have important elements of housing policy, education policy. We need to protect the environment. We need to move forward on innovation. We need to have a 24-hour city. We need to have a better transportation system. I'm the kind of person who has done this in the past. I have led change efforts in every organization that I've been part of. I'm a person who has managed large institutions with large numbers of employees, and as a result I'm a person that will not have to learn on the job. I'm a person who will enter City Hall ready to lead and ready to build a very strong leadership team that makes sure that the City of Boston moves forward. If people want to check me out more, go to my TED Talk. You'll see how I think. It's, just Google TED and Walczak and you'll find my TED Talk. I'm a person who has won innovation awards. The Boston Globe called me one of the 100 innovators of Boston, and I've been around the world leading efforts to try to improve the lives of people across the world and across our city. So I believe that I'm a very strong candidate for mayor, and I urge everyone watching this to check me out at billforboston.com. See what I'm all about, and see what kind of progress the city can make under my leadership. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Take care.
Thanks.